Alright, there we go. You can see me. What's up, guys? It's Jeff. After ages and ages and ages and seeing dozens of different variations of book trailers and audiobook experience trailers and all that, I decided to finally make a personal video on YouTube. For a very specific reason, actually. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Jahns. I'm a big fan of the Schmoes. I'm a big fan of, all the YouTube movie reviewers. And I love movies. So I thought, why not? And I saw Iron Man 3. And I'm going to talk about it. Now, fair warning, this is going to be your first and only spoiler alert. And I'm risking public embarrassment by giving you this interview. But hopefully the noise isn't too bad. I have my trusty, sophisticated sound system to record the audio and whatnot. Yeah. So, I just got out of the movie, so I'm going to give you my thoughts on every aspect of the movie that I can recall at this time. Everything from writing to cinematography to direction to acting. I'm going to start with the acting because it's pretty good, actually. I think that Robert Downey Jr. gives his best performance yet as Tony Stark in Iron Man. I loved seeing his post-traumatic stress, even though he never owns up to it being post-traumatic stress in the movie. I loved seeing it. He has these panic attacks. He's just completely on edge for the whole movie. I never knew, after the first time that I saw him spaz out, didn't know when he was going to spaz out again. Robert Downey Jr.'s definitely the Iron Man. I would go so far as to say that he's the Chris Reeve of Marvel movies. It's that definitive of a performance. I mean, the man certainly lived through Demon in a Bottle. Robert Downey Jr., when he was first cast as Tony Stark in Iron Man 1, I thought perfect casting. As I had read about Robert Downey Jr., I'd heard about Robert Downey Jr. and about his drug addictions and all of his crises and whatnot. So I thought perfect fit, and lo and behold, a good 3 movies. Didn't like Iron Man 2 so much. I liked Iron Man 3 a little bit more than Iron Man 2. Getting ahead of myself, though. Another good part of the movie was the supporting roles. Guy Pearce, Ben Kingsley, and I'm going to talk about the Mandarin. I'm not a huge Iron Man fan. I'm not very attached to the lore. I mean, come on. I went in wearing my Man of Steel shirt, so, that's the movie I'm looking forward to, and I'm definitely going to review that one. This one, however, for the movie, they played their roles well. And I totally agree with people who said that it was kind of a cop-out for the Mandarin. I definitely want to touch on the Mandarin. I hope nobody heard that. There's an ambulance that just went by. But Ben Kingsley, I love Ben Kingsley as an actor. He could make the worst movies, and he has. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Need I say more? But he's always good. You can always rely on him to give as outlandish a performance as only Ben Kingsley can give. Try that for a tongue twister. Other things. Guy Pearce. When I first saw Guy Pearce in the movie, I was surprised. I mean, I love Guy Pearce. Since Memento, Guy Pearce has been the man. I mean, even in Lockout, Guy Pearce was the man. And his role, he actually had a lot of versatility. For a guy who wasn't in the movie much, he had a lot of versatility. That's another thing I wanted to say about Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. It's the most complex and versatile performance he's given. I think I can't say in his entire career, but definitely within the Marvel movies. Definitely within, through Iron Man 1 and 2, and then the Avengers. So, I gotta give Robert Downey Jr. that. As far as, Gwyneth Paltrow, I like Gwyneth Paltrow, but the first when the Mandarins guys attack Tony's mansions, and we saw that in the trailers, that he attacks all the Tony Stark's mansion after Tony gives him his address, and whatnot. Tony is testing out the sort of, I don't know what it is, technokinetic aptitudes of the Mark 42 Iron Man suit, and it went on, and it latches onto Pepper like out of nowhere, and I'm just like, whoa, what the hell is going on, huh? No, whoa. It just threw me off. Some of the things they did with Pepper just, I don't know, it seemed a little much. It just seemed a little too unexpected, seemed a little too forced. Pepper is Tony Stark's emotional core, I really think, and I could really see that in Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, that Pepper Potts was Tony Stark's emotional core. But when it came to, but she didn't need to be as part of the action in that respect. I thought it was a little much. Rebecca Hall gave a good performance. I love Rebecca Hall. Loved Rebecca Hall since The Prestige. She's a fantastic actress. Paul Bettany is always, perfect for Jarvis. I like, since I haven't reviewed Iron Man 1 and 2, I just want to touch on the way they approach Jarvis as, instead of a butler, which is, very similar to Batman's Alfred, he's the AI butler, if you will. So that was a really cool variation on the Iron Man lore that I guess a lot of fans have come to accept in the film universe, in the cinematic universe. And I've grown attached to Paul Bettany's Jarvis. He's got that, monotone yet sardonic, almost innocence about him. That he's loyal to Tony to the end, not just because he's programmed, but because you can tell that Jarvis and Tony are actual friends. There's a scene in Iron Man 3 where, right after, we see in the trailer, where he rips off the mask, he rips off the faceplate, and the suit's powering down, and Jarvis, it's funny, because Jarvis says, "I think I need to sleep, sir," and the suit just shuts down, and you just see Tony's heart break just a little bit, and he's like, "Jarvis, come on, buddy, not you, stay with me, buddy." It was really, you could tell that there was a bond between this man and this machine. It was very, very cool to see. It was, so that was really cool. There is a lot of action in this movie. A lot of action, especially in the third act. But I was just surprised at how much Shane Black had upped the scale. Now I'm going to get to Shane Black. Because, Jon Favreau, he stepped down from directing Iron Man 3. So Shane Black stepped in. Shane Black, known for Lethal Weapon and other sorts of movies. You could tell that this was his sort of touch. Let's see if we can get me a little lighter. But you could tell that his sort of touch in this movie was a lot of humor. And there is a lot of humor in Iron Man 3. It's almost too much at some points, because you have these great action sequences, and then it's almost like they have to end with a punchline. Takes me out of the movie just a tad, just a little bit. I laughed, but at the same time I'm like, come on, man. Come on. I understand that Tony Stark's supposed to be a sarcastic bastard, but geez, come on. Now, the writing in this movie, I thought was really well done. A lot of comparisons are going to be made to Dark Knight Rises, in that we see more of Tony Stark than Iron Man in the third film. Very much so, like we saw more of Bruce Wayne than Batman in Dark Knight Rises. And some people are complaining. I think Jeremy Jahns said that we don't see much of Tony's genius. I might be misquoting. I hope to God I'm not misquoting, because I love Jeremy Jahns. I would hate to embarrass myself like this. I will watch the video, and if I have to make a correction, I will. But I loved seeing Tony sort of improvise a sort of non-Iron Man suit. In the third act, he like goes to Home Depot or some shit and just fabricates a non-Iron Man suit. So it's funny because in the first movie he was in a cave with a box of scraps. Now in this movie he's in Tennessee in a shed with a box of scraps. And he still makes it. But in this case he goes to Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever and buys stuff to make it. Still a box of scraps though. But I liked seeing Tony Stark. Now, the writing in this film, touching in the writing, the kid in this film, Harley, and I'm going to remember that kid's name because he did really, really well. He and Robert Downey Jr. probably had the best on-screen chemistry of any two character pairings in the entire film. This young kid, I want to know who he is because I want him to continue his career. I want to see this kid continue to act. Because this kid can act, and this kid has great timing. This kid was like just there with Robert Downey Jr. Like it was just really cool to see that. I didn't consider him annoying because I loved the banter between Tony and Harley. That was really cool. And, you know, there are a few touching moments between the two. But again, with the writing, you know, Shane Black loves a lot of humor. Again, sometimes you have these really touching moments, just like the action scenes. You have these really, you know, big action scenes with a lot of gravitas and gravity in one particular case. See how I did that there? But then he sort of like yanks the carpet out from under you with a punchline. Little bit much. The film could have done with a little less humor. And I agree with Jeremy. Iron Man 3 is an investment. Unlike Dark Knight Rises, which I can pop in anytime I want and just enjoy that film, or even Dark Knight, which is around the same time as Dark Knight Rises. You know, Iron Man 3 is about 2.5 hours long, but it feels like about 2 hours and 50 minutes, bordering on 3 hours. Some parts are really, really slow. Some parts are really drawn out. I understand some for character development and whatnot, but at the same time, Eminem. I just don't. It felt a little long. It felt like it dragged a little bit. It could have done with a little bit of a tighter edit. I'm not talking anything drastic, but maybe like 2 hours and 10 minutes, 2 hours and 15 minutes and whatnot. That would have been a good length for this film. The visual effects, okay, first of all, in the end credits, I got pissed off because there were so many visual effects. And I wanted to see the end credits. But there are a lot of visual effects in this film, and they're seamless. This is the most seamless, effects-wise, CG-wise, this is the most seamless Marvel film. And, you know, personally, I thought it was going to be craptastic, because I kept on hearing, you know, stuff from Marvel fans, Marvel Universe fans about, you know, Mandarin, Switch, nope, done. Nope, not happening. I'm not as attached to the lore, so when I first saw Ben Kingsley's switch from the Mandarin, you'll never see me coming, to, what is it, Terry Slattery? Yeah, Terry Slattery is the other half of that dude's name. I thought it was hysterical. And in my mind, it was a more comical version of the Ra's al Ghul twist. I'll use the Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul twist. It's properly pronounced Ra's al Ghul because there's a macron over the A when it's written in text. I'm a stickler for that stuff. But it was sort of the Ra's al Ghul switch, but with a more comedic tone. Now, earlier this morning, I read a New York Times article, a New York Times review, if you will, actually, of Iron Man 3. And it went into the subtext of the film. Without being too spoilery, it went into the subtext of, you know, a post-September 11th world and the fact that this film is coming out so close to the Boston terror attacks. By the way, my heartfelt condolences go out to Boston. I'm a Red Sox fan because I hate the Yankees. I hate the Patriots, but that's just on principle. But the city of Boston is, it's an American city. And, I live in America, so my heart goes out to Boston. My heart went out to New York on September 11th, all that stuff, without getting sappy. No chick flick moments here. I got what they were saying. And and what this film did was it sort of deflected all of that stuff with humor. And this is why, this is why I think there was a lot of humor in the film. Because we're living in this world where we kind of expect danger around every corner. I think the Mandarin didn't say that, but it was said in the article, in the New York Times article that I read, that, we're starting to expect danger. We're starting to think of it as just a natural occurrence. Oh, wait a minute. No, that was in Superman Birthright. Sorry. Whatever. But still, the principle applies. Birthright. I love that comic, by the way. That's one of my favorite comics of all time. I've been reading that, gearing up for Man of Steel, but that's a different story. Regardless, Iron Man 3, it's supposed to be fantasy, it's supposed to be escapism, but I like films that sort of tackle the big subjects and tackle them in a way that matter, that makes you identify with the film. I didn't really have anything to identify in the film with. It's just, I really didn't. I didn't connect with any of the characters, which is what I want to see in a film. Is there something else I wanted to talk about? Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Man of Steel trailer. Finally seeing Man of Steel trailer number 3 with Iron Man 3 in 3D XD. Oh, that's all. I think I wrote it on Twitter. It's a whole new level of goosebumps. I'm super excited for that film. That's probably... I'm surprised at how excited I am for this film because, I watched Superman the Animated Series when I was a kid. I don't remember the Christopher Reeve films very well. The last one came out the year I was born, or maybe a year after. I'm not entirely sure. But, Superman Returns let me down a little bit. And this film, everything I've seen from Man of Steel, not just because Nolan's involved, for God's sakes, please, people. Yeah, Nolan was a story consultant. Yes, he's producing the film, but this is Goyer's baby, writing-wise, and Snyder's baby, directing-wise. And, it's just a perfect storm to me. Honestly, I will be floored if this movie sucks. And this trailer is just, it was great to see it when it first debuted online, as I followed the Kryptonian Countdown. But it was so much more satisfying to see it in theaters, on film, on screen. And that's why I love going to the movies. I have a rating system that I use. I did a couple of reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I've done a few reviews on my original blog on Blogspot. I have a new blog, a Tumblr blog, legacyofthewoven.tumblr.com. I'll put it in that link, that video description below. I may do some movie reviews, but obviously the blog is basically to pimp my book out. I mean, I'm still trying to get published, but I'm this close to getting an agent. I feel it. I'm this close. And thank you to everybody who's read the book when it first debuted on Nook and Kindle. Thank you to everybody who has supported the book, supported me, supported the work. You know what? I actually had a fun time just sitting and talking about a movie. And I'm going to want your feedback. I'm definitely going to want your feedback. So comment. I think it's that away. I'm not sure. But I think it's that away on the apps. Or it might be down there on the iPhone app and the Android app. Wherever the comments are, that way. comment on it, on this video. Tell me what you thought of Iron Man 3. Tell people about my channel. You know, I want to talk with people about movies, about creative things. And my review for Iron Man 3? Let's see. I probably give it about a 7 out of 10. And that's me being generous because, you know, A, I'm not a Marvel fan. B, going into this, I was really skeptical, you know, because of what I read online. But C, because I was actually pleasantly surprised by the film. And I don't think I could... Oh! Okay. Extremis. I call it Extremis. They called it Extremis or whatever. But I call it Extremis. That's how I pronounce it. From what I understand in the comics, Extremis was specifically developed for Iron Man, so that, you know, the armor became sort of bioorganic. In this film, they completely redid Extremis and the purpose of it, and I guess it worked, but in my opinion, it almost lessened the villains. I don't know how it did that, but it did kind of lessen the villains. And it just seemed very generic to me. It just seemed like a convenient villain superpower. And it was weird that they gave Pepper the Extremis. I don't know. I mean, if they had given her an unstable version of the Extremis serum, knowing that it was like, you know, it would have a decay rate, that would have been cool. Because Killian said, Aldrich Killian, who is played by Guy Pearce, you know, said that I want to give to you the gift you gave me, which is desperation. So that would have been a much more effective use of Extremis in the film on Pepper. That being said, the movie still gets a 7 out of 10 from me, which is, you know, not bad. It's not bad. Definitely a good way to kick off the summer season. Obviously, I'm waiting for Man of Steel, June 14th. Who knows, though, I'll probably end up going to see Star Trek and reviewing that film because I like the 2009 Star Trek. So, anticipate Star Trek Into Darkness being my next movie review. I got nothing else for now. I wanted to talk about the movie. If you have any questions about how the audiobook experience is going, I have the forward and prelude upload. I have the forward and prelude recorded with music, with vocal effects. I'm probably going to put that up soon. I just want to get a good visual setup for it worked out. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I don't have a cool, you know, sign-off slogan like Jeremy. You know, I don't do the whole punching thing and whatnot, but whatever. You know, I'm just me, and I talk about movies and shit. Later.